All right, everybody, you should be able to hear Jeff. Jeff, go ahead.
Can you hear me, Morgan?
Jeff, if you're live in the room, we can all hear you.
Okay. I'm telling everybody that I'm being told I can be heard. So, thank you very much. Very much apologize for that. I was trying about 3 different microphones, not really sure kind of what the issue was. But I'm happy to be here. So let's go ahead and get started. Why don't we get our shot clock going? My name is Jeff Gibby. I've been working for MetaStock for about 16 years now. Really having a lot of fun with that project. And one thing I can tell you about Steve Signals, now that I've had about 4 or 5 or 6 months to actually look at them very, very closely on a regular basis, they're pretty nice. So, and they work very, very well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. My role at MetaStock is actually started in sales about 10 years ago. Now I'm in charge of what we call our partner development. And that means we reach out to people like Steve and some of the bigger gurus out there and get our technology to work with their technology and create really cool products. And we're also in charge of distribution internationally. We're a fairly large company internationally. Not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information software and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. If I miss anything to kind of, I'll do my best to answer it. If you have a question and I kind of miss it, go ahead and ask it again. And I'll do my best to kind of help you with kind of whatever questions that you might have. So we're just going to kind of briefly talk a little bit about MetaStock. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. It's a very, very popular brand. But we've actually been in business since 1982. We were founded by a gentleman by the name of Steve Akalis. Back in 1995, we were actually bought by Reuters. They wanted to provide MetaStock to their institutional traders, and it was a fairly good ownership for us. It allowed us to expand into about 192 different markets. We have exchange data for just about everywhere in the world, and there's certainly a lot of positives to that relationship. A couple of years ago, we released Quote Center. That's been replaced by Zenith. And if you guys like real-time news and real-time information and stuff like that delivered from Reuters, it's a great product. I actually kind of talked one of our customers into trying out Zenith at a trade show up in Toronto earlier this year, and he actually ended up canceling his Bloomberg account, saved about $1,850 a month basically. So the nice thing is we've sold over 310,000 copies of MetaStock. We're really bought ownership of MetaStock back from Thomson Reuters. So we had a management buyout basically, and so things are kind of looking really, really good for us. We think it's a very, very positive move for the company. And I'm actually so excited about it. I'm picking up and moving out of California back to Utah to be at the home office. Well, that's one of the reasons, but we're very, very excited about that. So just a little bit of history about us. We're going to kind of talk a lot about kind of looking at system testing and things like that. I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of who we are and that kind of stuff first. So as of actually the readers of stocks or commodities vote on what they like. It's not based on how much you advertise and that kind of stuff. But for the 21st year in a row, we've actually been rated #1. So we're pretty happy with that. We're pretty pleased with that. Let's go ahead and I have a little bit of a, today we're just going to be talking about evaluating trading systems, how to look at things to kind of figure out what a risk reward should look like, and what risk is actually in a trading system and in a trading methodology, and how you can actually kind of look at a stock and set up a business plan around a methodology before you start to trade. I think there's a lot of really good trading methods that are out there. There's a lot of really good trading methods that are actually in MetaStock, and there's a lot of good gurus out there. I think really kind of it's important to have a mechanical system. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I'm going to start with a little bit of a story today. So if you guys don't know who these guys are, that's Bill Dennis and Richard Eckhart. And probably a couple of most famous technical traders out there. The story of the turtles is fairly simple. A couple of very famous traders back in the 70s. Bill Dennis happened to believe that you could teach anybody how to trade, and Richard Eckhart disagreed. And so they actually set up a gentleman's bet. They basically said, well, let's go in and we'll put out some ads in the paper. They took out ads in Wall Street Journal. Barron's, New York Times, and they had hundreds of applicants. They just basically said, we'll fund a trading account for you. You have to follow our rules. We'll tell you exactly what to do. And as long as you follow the rules and stuff like that, we'll have you trade this account. So I think they ended up picking out about 20 people from the applicants that actually applied. And they got everybody between $500,000 and $2 million, depending on kind of who it was. That first year. It was one of the most humbling things for Richard Dennis, because he's like, well, it was a lot more teachable even than I thought. But the other thing that he said that I thought was very, very interesting is he said, well, you could teach everybody. You could actually publish my trading rules in the newspaper, and everybody knows the trading rules, and I don't want to come off as the turtle system, but the key for them was consistency and discipline. Because with the trading, if you don't know about the turtle trading system, it's basically a breakout system. And as a breakout system, basically what you're looking for is you're probably going to be looking at maybe 8 or 9 or even 10 losers in a row before you have one that actually makes a profit for you. And really what it comes down to having a good set of rules and a lot of discipline is the framework for what we want to talk about today. It's exactly how to go in and evaluate a trading methodology and figure out what works well and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to go ahead and try real quickly. I did put all the points in a PowerPoint today. I'm going to go ahead and try and go to a desktop share here. And okay. Now within just a few minutes, you should have I should be able to see my MetaStock platform. We had a little bit of a technical issue. Let me know if you can see it. We'll just kind of walk through a little bit of a setting up of system tests. We're going to spend some little time in the reports and looking through everything and stuff like that. It's coming through? All right, cool. So our technical folly today was just the microphone, not the desktop screen. I actually spent about a half hour fixing the projector last night. You know that I do a lot of dash trading. In other words, I trade the diamonds and the dogs and that kind of stuff. And that's primarily the instruments that I look at. What we're going to do is I'm not going to talk a lot about how to put indicators on a chart. We've got a lot of training videos around that. I want to just kind of jump into a system test. We'll set up a basket test, and we'll actually kind of look through some reports. And I'll show you what I think is important to me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on our Enhanced System Tester. And I'm going to kind of primarily, even though with MetaStock you can actually go in and it's fairly easy to create your own systems and your own methods and all that kind of stuff for trading, I'm not going to kind of get into that today. I want to go in and talk about the stuff that you'll have access to when you do our trial. And so all of these systems, as I counted them up yesterday, I think the number was today. But I'm going to show you how I set up the test last night, and then we'll just look at the report. Again, it's just to save time. Okay, so I'm going to select about 42 of these mechanical systems. You'll notice we do have a turtle trader in there. There's one on the corners RSI. There's a lot of different systems here. I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. Okay, and then with MetaStock 12, we've actually made it really easy to kind of manage lists and figure out keep lists of different maybe stocks, sectors that you might be interested in, and that kind of stuff. And so what I did to get ready for the demonstration today is I actually selected our NASDAQ 100 list. So I just click on Select All here. I'll go ahead and click on Next, and I'll just show you what we set up. So trading, I go ahead and I selected both long trades and short trades. I selected both. I tested the range of about 250 records. Okay. I used a daily increment, although you can do 4 hour or 30 minutes or 1 hour or 5 minutes. I did set it to daily when we kind of ran the report yesterday. And under trade options, I said, okay, here's how I set up the rules for our evaluation or for our simulation. Okay. I said, go ahead and start with a default equity size of $10,000. Okay. Now, how do you want to trade that equity size is basically how the test is going to operate. Or you could say, well, okay, every time I take a trade, whether or not I have the money or not, trade $7,500 or $750 or whatever that would be. Now, I'm a big fan of compound interest and reinvesting your earnings. So when I actually set up my test, I said, go ahead and test 75% of my available equity. And so what that means is basically every time the system got a mechanical system to buy, basically it would go ahead and trade 75% of that account, or $7,500. Okay. Now, if I grow that account up to $20,000, then it's going to be trading 75% of $20,000, which is 15 grand, right? Okay. So on the brokerage rates, now it does cost you money to trade. I have brokerage rates calculated in here for $5 for long and $5 short. And on trade execution, basically what I've said is, okay, well, I left realistic market prices checked marked. It will wait until the end of a bar. So in this case, I'm testing daily bars on all the NASDAQ 100 stocks. So if it gets a signal to buy during the day, basically it's going to wait until the close of that bar so that in case there's a big pullback and maybe that signal went away. So it's going to wait until the end of the bar. And since that bar is closed, instead of getting in at the close of that bar, basically what it's going to do is it's going to get in the open of the next trading bar. So hopefully that's clear for everybody. Don't see any questions, so hopefully it is. If I don't want realistic market prices, in other words, let's say I wanted to check the market about 30 minutes prior to close and get in on the close of the bar, or if I'm trading an intraday and I want to get in on the close of my hourly bar, or whatever it happens to be for your time increment you're using, I would just say, okay, well, I don't want realistic market prices. Go ahead and get me in on the close, and I'll sell on the close, or whatever you want to do. You could buy on the low if you wanted to, but that's not very realistic. We want to keep it realistic. So here's a delay in entering bars. I'm just going to go ahead and recheck mark realistic market prices. So I'll go ahead and click on OK. Now I'm not going to run this system test really because it probably took around, I'm going to say about 10 minutes to run yesterday. So that's a lot of time for me to talk and kind of, but I do have a report ready that we can look at. So here, just to kind of reiterate what I did for the test, we selected around 26 or 27 different systems that are all included in MetaStock. I went over and I basically said, okay, go ahead and test the whole NASDAQ 100. Go back a year, and every time you got a mechanical buy, and actually that's not the one I wanted to see. Let me go ahead and click on close. Let's do this one. View. That's the one. Is that the one? Yeah, this is the one I want to see. Now remember, we did test, actually I'm going to sort it by ID here. We tested around 32 different stocks. So we did what we call a basket test, which is something that's available in MetaStock. It's actually a pretty cool ability. We have the ability to say, okay, out of this particular method, and a profitable, this particular mechanical method would be against all of the stocks. We call it basket system testing. And that just allows us to see. So now I know that if I'm looking at the trading system number one here, we made around 13% profit last year trading every single stock. I also can see what my average trades looks like. And this is where it kind of comes into finding a method that works well for you. Because this one traded about 30 times last year, okay, with an average 30 times per stock, so about 3,000 times last year if you took every single trade. On average, it pulled back around 13%, and it's actually winners and losers, so that's pretty good. But the reason I actually decided that I liked the one below a little bit better is it only traded about 7 times per stock last year. Okay, so it's working a lot less hard, it's working a lot more efficiently to actually get us a return. Our average trade versus our average loss was around 3 winners to 4 losers, and it made on average around 7%. So on average, this was a system that matched kind of what I would be looking for a little bit closer. Yes, you can do this on FX, Lou, and I won't be today just because I'd have to go in and rerun the tests and stuff like that. But absolutely, you can absolutely go in and say, based on Euro, FX, if you're trading in FX, you wouldn't use it daily. I'd probably go down to a 30-minute to test or a 60-minute, or if not a little bit lower, but absolutely, it works well with FX. Let me go ahead and click on the view here. Okay, and now what I'm going to see is I'm going to see a breakdown. Remember, this was a basket of all 100 stocks. Okay, so here's our best performing stock was Micron Technology, and in this basket, it actually had a 75% gain last year. Okay, so if we would have hypothetically started last year, traded every single entry and every single exit that this particular system gave us, we'd actually be up 76%. So again, what I want to do as a trader, when I'm looking at methodologies, I want to focus on kind of the areas that work. And this is something that I think is important in life. Like when I go in to do something with business, I want to focus on those relationships that work well. When I will go in and focus on the kids, I want to focus on what's going to be beneficial for them. I always think it's important to focus on what actually works. Over the years, I've had questions from thousands and thousands of traders about, there's 200 or 300 different indicators out there. How do I decide which ones to use or what mechanical systems are going to kind of work? And I always would say, well, it's important to go with the ones that work instead of actually focusing your knowledge and your learning experience on 250 indicators that don't work on the stocks or the Forex markets you're interested in. Let's go ahead and narrow down and focus in on the. So let's go ahead and look at kind of the statistics for this top one, this Micron Technology. The date range was 6/29 2012 to 6/28 to 2013, so just 1 year. You can go back 20 years if you want to and do testing. That's totally something that's available and open for you. Taking every single trade on this particular fractal trading system would have netted you $7,500 profit with that $10,000 start. That's a gain of about 76%. And doing that, we would have traded 7 times. Now, six of those trades would have been winners, and 1 of them would be a loser. So again, this is 12 months in a year. I'm pretty sure that's a universal thing. But okay, so 7 trades per year is going to be less than 1 trade a month on Micron. Okay, now I can do that. That's something that'll work well within my schedule. 6 of those are winners and 1 of them are losers. I think I can handle that kind of a bat ratio. And so this is something again for last year for Micron technology. So now I want to kind of take a closer look at it. I'm just going to click on View right here. And it's going to give us kind of a full-blown summary report of exactly what we're looking at. Okay. Now here on the profit, we're actually making $7,500, and we already talked about that, 76% over the year. If we would have just bought and held Micron last year, we actually would have made more money, $10,000 to be exact. Okay. And we'd be up about 100%. Okay. Now I would still say, and I'll show you why in a minute, that this method was still better than actually just buying and holding Micron. Number 1, because we had a set of rules, and number 2, this system was actually more efficient in terms of capturing profit on a stock that's moving up. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. Okay. Total profitable trades were 6. All of those trades were betting that the stock would go up, and it did. Okay. There was 1 losing trade, and that was also betting the stock would go up, and it wouldn't. Okay. Our average profit every time we had one of these trades was $1,300. Okay. Our maximum profit was around $4,500, and our lowest profit was $54. So this actually performed pretty well. Our highest, average, and lowest loss, because we only had 1 trade, was 6. I'll talk about here because I just don't use them as much. But there is one over here that I like to look at. It's our out-of-market timing. How long are we actually out of the market when we trade this? On average, we're out of the market when we get out of the position 10 days. The longest time period we were out of the market was 24 days. But our total that we were out of the market was 93 days. Okay. So now, before I said, well, this didn't make as much money as just buying Micron, but we only were in the stock 250 days minus 93 days. So we weren't in the stock. If there's 252 trading days in a year, we were in a stock for, I would say, almost a half the year, but I don't want to do the math right now. So being in stock less and not having our large amount of profit on Micron. And if we're not in the market for 93 days on Micron, that means at least number 1, our money's not at risk. Number 2, we could have it invested somewhere else and actually bring up this percentage a little bit more. Or number 3, we're at least traveling a little bit more efficiently to the direction that we're going. And that's what we say when we talk about account efficiency. How long does it take you to make money versus your total investment in the marketplace? And efficiency is actually a number that Price Headley of Big Trends and I talked a lot about. It's an important number because if you can imagine it as going around in a car, if you're going down on the freeway and you're traveling 70 or 80 miles an hour, you're going to be getting to where you're going a lot faster than if you're on a little windy mountain road where you have to kind of take a little bit of measurement of how fast you can make money in the market and how long that's going to be in risk. So we did do about 25% less than trading buy and hold. That's what this buy and hold index is. Our profit loss index was 92%, which means basically it goes from minus 100 to plus 100. But 100 is as good as it gets. 92% is actually fantastic. And the money of reward we have versus risk, again, it goes from minus 100 to plus 100. 92% is good, is extremely good as well. So that's how we kind of look at this report. There's a lot of things that I didn't talk about, but in MetaStock, if you summary of everything that's on this page and how to read it and how to evaluate it. Again, what we want to do is we want to figure out and evaluate methods and figure out something that works well for us. Okay. Up here at the top, I can click on the Orders tab, and it'll list every single order that the simulation actually placed, considered, and executed. On the Position tabs, it'll actually kind of give me an idea of kind of a position summary. The other tab that I really, really like to look at is the Equity tab. And I think it's important to look at the Equity tab, the Equity line, because it gives us an idea for consistency of a particular system over other systems. In other words, if I see a little bit of growth and then a bit of a pullback and stuff like that, this is pretty good, especially for the last, I say, 7 or 8 months. This has been a great equity, but it was a little choppy. So if I was actually looking to place trades on this particular system, I'd probably test it quite a bit longer and see how it looked. But what I definitely don't want to see is I definitely want to see some consistency. I want to see kind of like this steady upward trend. Okay. What I don't want to see when I'm looking at an equity graph, because if this is actually my money and I'm actually trading this system, I certainly don't want to see it jumping up and then going down and up and down. I don't want to see a lot of massive drawdowns when I'm doing an equity test. For obvious reasons. We just want to make sure that actually, well, you might enjoy the ride. I like to make my money consistently and take little drawdowns, and obviously everybody likes to do that, but this is a great visual representation. You'll notice like when maybe where you can be in another position, so these areas here where it's flat, we're actually not in trades for this particular mechanism, and so you can see efficiency pretty well on this screen as well. Couple messages before we kind of get in here. Lou says, what is the best software MetaStock has for FX? So Lou, actually we have some systems that were actually designed for the FX market. They always start with FX. There's a multiple time frame system that's very good. There's one in there that's called the Keltner system. And actually I don't care for that one much, to be honest. The pattern system #1 for FX is really, really good. And all of these methods you can actually also test on a document inside of MetaStock that I can send you if you can't find it, that actually kind of outline the system. Carmen asked, what does the column that says had errors signify? That basically means one or more of the symbols that we had didn't either have data or was a bad symbol. So it's out of 100 stocks, usually that whole column is actually, one of my list was maybe just a little bit for you, sorry. Hindsight is only 20/20. That's an important point, Brian. There is no substitute for hands-on. And I will not disagree with you one bit. Hope you weren't hoping I would. I would say that with mechanical trading systems and with the amount of indicators and stuff like that, the best way to kind of, the best use of ones are working most effectively. Then I would say kind of understanding the indicators. So kind of instead of going in and trying to learn about a couple hundred different indicators, for example, you can kind of figure out which ones have actually worked really well over the last couple of years. You can learn about the systems that way, and then you can start to go in and implement them and follow the trades and paper trading. The thing I love about trading, especially if you're new to it, is it's a business that you can set up and actually trade completely on paper to see how it goes until you're in the marketplace. particularly if we talk about those turtle traders, they would have to take 8 or 9 losing trades in a row to get a winning trade that would make all of their money for the year. And the turtles that weren't able or willing to do that psychologically actually weren't turtles, so you actually kind of had to leave the company. So the question is how do we find a mechanical system that works well? How do we trust it? And how do we discipline it, have discipline around that system? Jim asked, can you run a test on your personal list of stocks? Yes, absolutely. You can run it. Reuters does provide us with a ton of really cool customized lists. So if you're interested in trading energy and you want to run a test on like the energy sector, those types of things. So those are all pre-built for you and updated from MetaStock. Jim, also you can create your own trading strategies. I've earned the right to say it's really, really easy to do. I mean, you don't have to learn like JavaScript or, I've earned the right to say that it's easy because, while I am a little bit more technically savvy, I'm really primarily a sales guy. And I've been able to create some really, really cool systems in MetaStock with a lot of our partners. We're working on one with Steve right now. So let's see. Okay, that was on time. So let's go ahead and kind of take this to the next logical step, or what I would feel is the next logical step. We know this system worked last year. We could have tested it for 20 years and see if it worked for 20 years if we wanted to. Now what I want to do is I want to actually pull this out and I want to see it on a chart. I want to see exactly where the indicators fired and where we would have bought and where we would have sold. And I want to kind of see that from a visual perspective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Plot on Chart here. So I'll just go ahead and click on the Plot on Chart button. I'll go ahead and close down the Enhanced System Tester. Okay, and that'll open up the chart for you, draw those all on the chart for you. And it also shows that equity line in terms of how we would have done over time and with our initial $10,000 and how that would have grown. Okay, so again, we have this kind of choppy sideways market. That's where our equity line didn't go. The stock began to pick up some momentum, and of course, since we were buying at the right times, it was telling us we were going to buy. So this is a good way to kind of visually confirm exactly what the system is telling you. Now, I'm still comfortable with this. I understand it. I get it. Now I'd want to understand exactly what the rules are. Why am I getting a buy signal right before this run? Why did I get an exit here? Why did I get a buy signal here? Why did I get a buy signal here? Again, this is I view this more of a shortcut to your learning process than anything else. So this little dude in the top hat. And for all of the systems that we tested, and I have a lot of stuff. You'll notice, like in here somewhere, I have a big of a test expert. I have a lot of experts that we create with our partners. One of my funnest part of my jobs is actually going in and working with our partners and learning stuff I didn't know. See, actually, here's our test expert. It's not ready. I'm not going to show it to you today. But I've also got a listing of all of the tested, or the 31 that I ran through the test scenario last night. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to find, this one was called Fractal Trading System number 2. I'm going to go, it's already attached to my chart because I was looking at it last night, so I'll just go ahead and leave it there. I'll go ahead and click on Close. And when I do that, it's actually going to highlight all of the bars green where we actually would have bought. It's going to give us our exit signals where we would have gotten out and all that kind of stuff. So now I have just another visual feel. If I had this attached to a chart, for example, it would pop up an alert if I had an exit or a sell today or a new buy signal. So it will kind of give us an advisor, and we'll, of course, get another buy signal when that happens. But the thing I really like about the expert advisor is its usage in helping us understand exactly what a system is giving us a buy signal. And let me show you what I mean. I'm going to right-click here on my chart. I go down to Expert Advisor, and I click on Commentary. Okay? And when I do that, you'll notice here at the very end of the chart, I get a little bit of a black arrow, right? So that's basically just telling me that this particular commentary right on here, that's actually because the system exited at the last trading day to calculate that last trade. There's not actually an exit today. So if we're in a position, we wouldn't get out today. Okay? There's actually no trading signals today. What is fractal trading system too? Well, there are many different definitions for fractal systems in security trading. The definition, I'm going to try and expand this out a little bit more for you. The definition used in these systems is a minor version of the type defined by Bill Williams, PhD. In his book, Chaos-Based Trading Method, well, it's just going to tell us exactly what to do with it. With this particular system, we'll enter long today with a market on close order or at the market price on tomorrow. So open 15 minutes. Okay, we're doing okay on time. There are a few other things that I kind of want to go through, and I think it would be important to show you some of the other educational expert advisors that are in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the expert advisory again, and I'm going to come up to the ones that we've actually built for people that are just show you the candlesticks one. I want to say that this is not Steve's patterns. It does a really good job of identifying patterns. I'll go ahead and attach it to the chart. I'll click on close. And you'll notice when I do that, I should probably change the candlesticks. MetaStock's easy to change. If I double click on something, I can go ahead and make a candlestick. Apply. Okay. So when I do that, you'll notice that it is labeling my big white candles, my long upper shadows, my big white candles, all these kind of different patterns that are appearing. But I want to understand exactly what that pattern signal is. Etc. etc. Going back to the system design question that I think it was Late had earlier, or not Late, Lalit had earlier, you can actually create your own experts to give you alerts and signals and paint things on the chart and color them as well, and that's just as easy to do. Actually, Lalit, I'm going to say that I love our particularly, and it works really, really well for me, but it's kind of like what we're talking about. This is about finding something you feel comfortable with, that you understand, and that you know how to trade. So, but you guys know RMO is my favorite system because of how it works, and I can send you a video if you want to see how to use that one. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about in my last 12 minutes is using MetaStock as kind of like a prospecting tool. So if I come back to, I'm just going to go back into our expert advisor here. I'm going to go down to here at the beginning of this trend. I think we might have missed the boat on this particular trade. And so I don't have really an active trading system right now. But one of the things I love about MetaStock is our ability to go and do like a full market scan. And this is really what we're going to incorporate quite heavily when we start to do Steve stuff. Actually, we're starting to get all the patterns pulled together for Steve stuff. But if I click on or my exploration here, my Explorer, it's going to allow me to come in, and I can actually create, again, my own ranking and scanning criteria. And I have tons and tons of them in here. I've been system. This is something that I want to see and trade. All I have to do is I can kind of come in and find the method that I want to actually test. I click on Next. And then I can just come down and I find the basket I want to do. So if I want to do NASDAQ, I can do NASDAQ. Or if I want to do, there's really no limits to what we could do. We could go in and say I want to scan all the optionable stocks, for example. Or I want to scan all of the Forex markets. Now what I was going to do, I'll put it back on NASDAQ. You come in here and you say, okay, well, let's go ahead and scan it on a daily interval. And we'll go ahead and have it tell us exactly which ones have a buy signal today. Then I'm just going to go to the report. That I generated yesterday. Back. Report. And it didn't take very long to run this. I was actually surprised it got done before I could finish the PowerPoint for it. But out of the 100 stocks that I'll have long signals. Now out of these 3 stocks, how would I determine which one I wanted to buy? I'd probably actually take these 3 stocks and run a test to see which ones perform best. So go ahead and click on Close there. I'll go ahead and click on Close there. One other thing while we're talking about system testing, and then I'm going to wrap up a little bit because I'm running out of time, is how easy it is to go in and modify it. It's really, really easy to actually go in and edit and make your own code. If you're not technically savvy, one of the services that we actually offer as a company is you can hire one of our programmers. They'll write anything that you want, and it'll cost you $35. So it's very, very cheap. Very worthwhile. It's something that's available for you if you have an idea for a method you want to be able to test or scan for, that kind of stuff. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about is tweaking systems that are already there. So just for example, this, it doesn't almost matter, but this is a system that we really like. Let's say we wanted to retest that one, but maybe we wanted to put in some profit targets or some trailing stuff. Just select the system that I want to modify and add a stop to. All I have to do is I click on Edit right here. And that's going to give us kind of like our buy criteria and our sell orders. But if I want to add a stop to that, all I do is I click on this Stops tab. And if I want to add like a trailing stop, I could go, okay, let's do a trailing stop. I'm going to risk 10% or 20% or 30%. And what's kind of interesting, and this is important to add to your testing, because I found that putting in a trailing stop doesn't always necessarily mean you'll make more money. In fact, usually my experience is that it actually is harmful if you put in too close of a trailing stop. It doesn't allow you to stay fishing for a while. So by being able to go in and test different trailing options and trailing stops, you can it does give you an idea to understand exactly how your mechanical system is going to work. Yeah, next time I'm showing this why there's trailing stops in there. So let's go ahead and go back to the slideshow for a minute. Yes, actually, if you go to Lou, we have absolutely a great selection of training videos that are available and they're all free. Let's see. If you go to youtube.com, I'll show you where they are real quick. Let's bring this over here. You should see my browser. And we'll go to, I'll show you how to find it. Okay, if you just search for MetaStock, all times, is actually where is the most popular list? Actually, Steve Bigelow. His view on our website has actually got 120,000 views now. So, but there's all kinds of different training. There's support videos. There's things that you can look at. There's a lot of stuff here. Because it is a big tool. I mean, there are a lot of things. We've been working on it for 16 years. There's a lot of things you can do in it. $35 for them is just a point and click. Seems. Yes, actually, they're actually, if you want somebody to actually sit down and write code for you, it costs $35. So I don't know if you've ever hired a programmer before. I've hired quite a few of them. $35 to make anything that you want seems a little bit cheap to me. But there are also videos that will actually show you how to use the formula language, and I'll get a lot more than that. So I'm going to see if I can just, I wonder if there's a way I can just jump to the end of my PowerPoint here. Yeah, I don't know if I can just put in a number. Let's go ahead and kind of go through it. This is just stuff that we were talking. Here's kind of the things that I like about MetaStock. So I did count on 43 built-in systems. Those are all pre-built and ready to go. There's also tons of them available on the internet. Stocks and Commodities usually prints one out every day. You can test baskets. That's really, really cool. It's very, very easy to go in and create custom studies, whether that's an indicator, a system test, or an exploration. I showed you the stops. One of the things I didn't talk a lot about is it is easy to do variable optimization. There's a lot of disagreement about whether or not that's actually helpful or not, or whether you can overly curve fit, but it is something that you can do. The biggest thing that I like about our system tester, if I have to actually kind of break it down to a couple things, it's incredibly easy to go in and say, here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to test. Here's what I want to put in. It's easy to create your own studies. I've earned the right to say easy as well. So again, let's see. I was talking. How does it allow to scroll your chart back? Yes. You can scroll back as long as you've got data. With Reuters, that's one of the things that we've kept, even though we're our own independently held company, which I think is going to be awesome for our future. We still have a very long-term relationship and have data that goes back on almost all equities to the 1980s. Futures go back a little bit further than that. But we have our partnership with Reuters is great. I don't think we would have been able to negotiate it without being owned by them for so long. But we have some of the best data that's available, in my opinion, in the world as part of that. So I'm coming down to the 3-minute mark. So here's people talking about how much they love us. We won't go through what we can actually provide you as a company. And I think really the people that get MetaStock, according to at least the numbers that we do, 76% of them say they're more successful in the market because of the way that they trade. And I think that's one of the things I enjoy about MetaStock so much. I've been there for 16 years, and I can't see myself anywhere else. But I just know that it's a product that's going to be beneficial for $10 a month for end of day, and $250 a month for real time. And we do offer a free trial for Trading Pub and for coming here today. What I'd actually recommend that you do, and I'm going to pull this in right on time, we do offer a free month of training. The free month of training is actually done by a company called LearnMetaStock.com. It's really good. It's like basically he does 3 live web classes a month. He has 60 hours of online training classes, and they do a lot of actually talking about market techniques. So he started this last year where he'll pull in an advertise or a review article and they'll discuss it in kind of a roundtable way. It's a very cool site. And we're going to give that to you free for a month as well. The real thing is like MetaStock is actually an incredible toolbox. There's so much you can do in it. But I really think you would need to, one of the things is it is a toolbox. You have to understand how it works. You have to understand how that tool works, because I can give you a screwdriver, but if you try and pound nails with it, you're not going to get anywhere. So this training is really, really good to help you get there. The other thing that I would recommend is to really evaluate MetaStock with a low commitment to understand if it's going to work for you. And so what we do is we say, if you buy 1 month of MetaStock, we'll give you 2 months of MetaStock. So here in California, the day is June 29th. If you set a 3-for-1 deal today, you'd be running through July, August, September. You'd be good almost until October. So for that, you'd pay $59 end of the day. I'd recommend you go with real time because it's $250 and you get a lot of really cool Reuters news. You can always decide if you want to go end of day later if you want to or not. So anyways, that's my spiel. My email address is jeffrey.gibby@metastock.com. And Norman asked, does it work for an Apple computer, not natively? We have a lot of people that use Apples, but you have to use Boot Camp and you have to use Windows. Based on the, I think we'll probably add an Apple version, but I don't think it'll be this year. Yeah, we do have a, we've actually put together some really cool training videos that are there, and we'll walk you through it. And depending on how deep you want to go and how far you want to go down it, the thing that kind of is a double-edged sword about selling MetaStock is there's so much you can do with it. It's just a product you're never going to outgrow. And for $59 a month, or $250 a month, as long as it's making you money and you're getting that return on that investment, that's really what's going to really kind of come down to for you. And we want you to treat it like a business decision. I only want customers who are making money. So if it doesn't help you, feel free to cancel. I think you need a multi-screen platform. You can use MetaStock on more than one screen and more than one monitor. Jim, we actually have some pretty good trading videos that are up on our website that aren't on the YouTube site, and I think they're a little bit better about writing your own formulas and that kind of stuff. So I would just have you drop me a message and I'll look up that link for you. There's actually a couple of really good ones up that I think are a little bit better than the ones up on the YouTube site. So, and plus we have a little bit, if you go up, or 1 minute over. So Morgan, I want to say just one last thing. I want to thank everybody for listening to me for the last hour. I hope it was helpful for you. Want to thank Morgan for having me. I always love coming in and doing these things. And I only hope that you guys enjoy it as much as I do.